look, I'm one of a handful of people that don't take corporate PAC money. I don't understand my Democratic
What
Party.
about APAC money? You take APAC money, don't you?
A minuscule percentage of my resources come from
I read it's like 800,000.
Yeah, but that's a lifetime number.
Everybody but me has an APAC person.
What's that mean, an APAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your APAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for APAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in APAC. And
every member has something like this?
That's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them. And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my APAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my APAC guy. I'll talk to my APAC guy and see if I can get him to dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
Is it US imperialism saying that we need this outpost in the Middle East, this aircraft carrier in the Middle East that is Israel? Or is it the lobby here in the US that you guys write about, pressuring, manipulating even the US into supporting Israel against the US's own interests? Some on the right today, as you know, the Tucker Carlsons, the Joe Kents, they like to suggest it's the latter. It's the tail wagging the dog. It's AIPAC pushing the US into Israel's arms. But someone like, say, Noam Chomsky, famously, has always dismissed the lobby explanation and said, no, America supports Israel out of its own geopolitical imperial self-interest because it wants to, not because it's pressured to. Where do you guys stand on that long-standing debate? How influential, how crucial is the lobby when it comes to US support for Israel?
So Noam Chomsky isn't around to respond to me. I wish he were, but I disagree with him.
Not doing so well, unfortunately.
I disagree with him on that. It has been the lobby, and it's easy to show evidence of that the strategic argument is simply wrong. The most famous attempt to make that argument was a book called The $36 Billion Bargain by a political scientist named A.F.K. Organsky. And that was back in the 80s that he wrote this. And he argued that it was a bargain for the United States to pay all this money for Israel's security because Israel was providing the United States with much more.
Which many Republicans say today when they're defending the relationship. It's in our interests.
Fascinatingly, Organsky said, I might be wrong. We can tell if I'm wrong if the Soviet Union disappears and American aid to Israel continues to be high. Well, guess what? The Soviet Union did disappear. We had a natural experiment, and American
Well, they
aid to
said
Israel,
the war on terror, we require their intelligence against terrorists.
Even before that, but my point is that the aid stayed exactly the same and even went up to an extent.
Okay.
Showing that whatever was driving the level of aid had nothing to do with American
So that's a
strategic
bad faith
interests.
argument, I think we can agree. But let's deal with a good faith Chomsky argument. Noam Chomsky and others on his side of this argument would say that here's a counterexample, famous one that you know. In the early 80s, Ronald Reagan sold AWACS to Saudi Arabia. Israel and the lobby were very much opposed to that. Reagan overruled them. Someone like a Chomsky would say, see, America decides this stuff. Ultimately, that's not the lobby.
So that's one of about 3 examples that the lobby will give to show that we don't always win. But if you look closely at the AWACS decision or the decision by President Bush the first to withhold loan guarantees, and you'll find that they got so severely punished and their allies punished that they will never do that again.
Yes.
So it was a Pyrrhic victory for the White House every time that has happened.
I believe AIPAC is toxic. I believe it is one of those organizations that really creates an environment where the members that are elected to represent the interest of those that send them to Washington, D.C., lose the capability of doing that. They do not just threaten to fund an opponent against you. It is a constant harassment, a barrage of text messages that are sent to your constituents. It is the digital ads they run. against you. It's the fact that they will say that you are interested in killing people if you are not supporting what they're pushing for. It is a very scary organization that is built on intimidation and bullying, and I think it is in the best interest of every single member of Congress, whether you're independent, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, to free yourself from that toxic hold, because it ultimately does make you a better representation, a better representative of the people that entrusted you with their vote.
Breaking news, AIPAC, the pro-Israel lobby, is trying to hide something from you, because they are now telling their donors to donate to politicians directly instead of through the organization. And they're doing this so when these politicians get these donations, right, on their filings report, AIPAC, the organization, will not show up. The AIPAC brand has become so toxic, even they know that their name affiliation next to any politician is extremely harmful. Like, even now, to the average voter walking down the street, if they see that a politician takes money from AIPAC, immediately they lose interest and don't like them. That is how toxic this brand has become, which is a good thing. So going forward, a lot of these politicians that were getting AIPAC money will suddenly not get it anymore. So when you see them say, "Oh, look at me, I take no AIPAC money," they're lying to you. Again, they're still getting donations from these people that would have given it to them anyways through AIPAC. The only difference is that the name AIPAC is not on their filings report. You can't see the name anywhere anymore. They're trying to be sneaky, but it's not going to work.
The real winner of our election is Israel. And it's insane because the pro-Israel lobby spent $100 million and installed 318 Zionists into our Congress. That is a majority of our representatives. That is a majority of the representatives, and everyone is focused on Kamala and Trump while the AIPAC, the pro-Israel lobbies, are putting their people into power. We are never going to stop this genocide. Our support for Israel is never going to end. They're going to get billions of our dollars, billions of our weapons. I'm so upset about this that I told you guys for the past year, every week I made a video about AIPAC telling you this race, AIPAC's doing this. And it all happened. They won almost every single one of their races. And I think for the Democratic Party to survive in the future, they need to change their stance on Israel. They have to. And with most of the Democrats in Congress now being installed by AIPAC, that, I fear, is impossible, because if the nominee tries to flip their stance on Israel, they're going to lose all of the Democratic Party's support. And it's giving me a very hopeless feeling, but I'm going to keep fighting AIPAC. We all need to stand against AIPAC. We cannot let them control our politics like this. They are a foreign lobby. They're an instrument of genocide. That is what they serve as. Anyways, if you want to support me continuing to make these videos as I go to college, there's a link in my bio where you can help me out. Thank you, and free Palestine.
Representative Stevens, for some Democrats here in Michigan who are concerned about you having money from AIPAC, what would you say to those voters?
Well, I would say that no one impacts or influences my vote except for the people of Michigan. Michigan has been my North Star. When Barack Obama got elected to the presidency, I was a campaign staffer, and I got invited to work on his transition. And I said to myself, okay, I'm either going to move home and help Michigan through this recession, or I'm going to do something in Obama's administration to help. That ended up being Steve Ratner's chief of staff on the U.S. Auto Rescue, which the federal taxpayer made money on, right? It was a rescue of the companies that saved 200,000 Michigan jobs. Nothing for me has changed. I have put up my hand for Michigan consistently. When Donald Trump first got elected and I saw all the things I had worked for in the manufacturing world, the R&D world, workforce training, STEM education, I put up my hand to run in the congressional district with the largest concentration of automotive suppliers and Chrysler being headquartered in it. And look, it was a 6-way primary. It was spirited. I actually met Abdul. We were both running for office at that time. The difference is I won that race. But look, you know, and he was running for governor. But the deal is that I put up my hand in that moment because Michigan was my North Star. And that has always been my North Star. Look, I'm not lip service. I got a voting record. You can look at it. You can look at the nearly 60 bills I have authored and introduced this term. The things that I'm working with colleagues on across the industrial Midwest to improve people's lives, to fight for our middle class, and to give people the fair shot at the American dream from the place called Michigan.
When is everyone ready to admit that these people are playing in everybody's faces? Remember during the election season when everybody said that Gaza had nothing to do with us? That we, let me check my notes, had to focus on us. And those of us who are actually on the left drew the correlations to show how it is that Isn't Real has impacted our communities specifically. Told folks that behind every cop city, there is a training that took place in Isn't Real. For every one of the people in our community that is unhoused, Isn't Real has subsidized housing. For every one of us that goes into debt because we have a hospital bill, Isn't Real has universal health care. And your state representatives are backed by a foreign PAC, while American citizens still can't afford to feed, clothe, and house themselves. AIPAC also backs Republicans. So what makes you think those two parties don't have the same interests?
I think I've reached a point where any, and I mean this, any politician, elected official that has taken money from AIPAC, I don't care what they have to say. I don't care. I don't care how nice you are. I don't care how much people love you. I don't care at this point. It's been ridiculous, but at this point, it's out of control. I don't know every congressperson that's taking money from AIPAC. I know select few, but if y'all see me make a video and I'm talking about how much I like someone, an elected official, someone in Congress, etc., or even if they've been appointed a position, and I'm just not familiar. If they've taken money from AIPAC, you have every right to get in my comments and be like, hey, Steve-O, I know you said you like this person, but yeah, they've taken money from AIPAC. Cool. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. I don't care if their policies and all that are amazing. Get them out of here. At this point, I really want to say, if you've taken money from AIPAC, you're really treasonous. like the dedication and loyalty American elected officials have to another country, it's absurd. It's out of control. This doesn't make any sense for any country to operate this way with their elected officials, or their elected officials of a country to operate this way. It makes no sense. And I would feel this way if Israel was any country around the world. If any American elected official had this level of loyalty to any country, I would feel this way. It just happens to be Israel this time. This is disgusting. This is nasty.
Washington, Patty Murray, Democrat. Maria Cantwell, Democrat. Susan Del Bene, Democrat. Rick Larson, Democrat. Marie Glusenkamp Perez, Democrat. Dan Newhouse, Republican. Michael Baumgardner, Republican. Emily Randall, Democrat. Kim Schreier, Democrat. Adam Smith, Democrat. Marilyn Strickland, Democrat. West Virginia. Shelley Moore Capito, Republican. Carol Miller, Republican. Riley Moore, Republican. Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, Republican. Brian Steele, Republican. Derek Van Orden, Republican. Scott Fitzgerald, Republican. Glenn Grothman, Republican. Tom Tiffany, Republican. Tony Weir, Republican. Wyoming, John Barrasso, Republican. Cynthia Loomis, Republican. Harriet Hegman, Republican. So as you can see, there is a ton of names on both sides of the aisle that take AIPAC money. And I personally believe we need to replace every single one of them. Every single one of them is completely unacceptable and needs to go. This country has been bought and paid for by the Israelis for long enough. Not to mention, it's bought and paid for with our own tax money. This country is bought and paid for by the Israelis with our tax money that goes to the Israelis. Meanwhile, they have higher education for free. They have universal health care for free. And then we give them money, we give them weapon systems, and then they take that money, they take those weapon systems, murder children around the world. Then they take the money we give them and they shovel it back into our own government to make us give them more money and more weapons. Personally, I could not care if every single one of these people tripped on a Lego and broke a leg. I don't care. Just get them out. Goodbye, go away. Though it's a very long video, I hope you just jumped to your state instead of watching through all of these. But if you did, that's awesome too. And as always, if you made it this far, thank you. I love you. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll definitely talk soon.
AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, used to be the one lobbying group in Washington that both Democrats and Republicans were on board with. AIPAC gave millions to candidates who promised to basically do Israel's bidding, guarantee aid, military cooperation, and legislate in a way that gave the Israeli government essentially carte blanche to do whatever it felt it needed to do. But especially since October 7th and Israel's 1,000 times reaction to the brutality of the Hamas invasion, basically leveling Gaza, now going about annexing the West Bank, attacking Lebanon, triggering the Iran war essentially, a lot of folks here in the States are over it, especially Democrats and especially young Democrats. And it's changing the playing field for the midterms coming up now. If you're a candidate and you've got AIPAC backing, you've got a target on your forehead. And it's basically you are representing old school politics, establishment politics, and the progressive left is having none of that, nor are millions of voters, many of them new voters. The question is, going into the general election, how this is going to shake out and how putting ostensibly an anti-Israel, cut off their aid, don't give them permission to do whatever they want, push back on Israel platform is going to fare in the general election. And regardless of how these candidates do, the tide is turning. America's bipartisan, unconditional support of Israel, that's going away, folks. And it likely ain't never coming back.
Will you take AIPAC money or have you taken AIPAC money?
I'm not certain if I've taken it or not. I've been in office 10 years. It doesn't jump out at me as I'm taking it. But I think the most important part
will you for this race?
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
Okay, come on, Jeff. This is like there's a genocide going on right now. In even human rights, Israeli human rights groups see this, that the United States of America is funding.
To see these kids starving.
And to not know if you're going to be beholden to the Israeli lobby is to me is not something that should take time to think about, because you started off this interview with us talking about your faith.
It is.
Will you take AIPAC money in this race?
I have no idea. I haven't even thought about it.
Wow. Okay, I want to take that moral clarity that you have right there and then ask you again, are you going to take money from AIPAC? Because just there you talked about, and AIPAC is what helped. They gave Trump over, I think, $200-300 million. Are you going to take money from a group that lobbies to deny that that's happening to those children?
I'm not going to give you the shallow answer of saying yes or no, because
if you can have moral clarity to talk about the starvation, the famine, and the genocide, then it's a very easy jump to then just say across the board, you wouldn't believe how popular you'd be, Jeff. You just wouldn't believe how popular you'd be if you said, I am not taking money from AIPAC.
We'll certainly continue to look at it.
But I hope that you do. Jeff, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you can report back to us sometime soon that you've thought about these AIPAC donations and that you will not accept them and partner with them in this, because I think that you will have so much more credibility. And how uncomfortable did I make you? I was kind of all in. I wish that people would have more rigorously, done this with our politicians and called them out more directly. I mean, I think I'm teeing him up for what's about to happen.
AIPAC. Do you actually know what it is? I've graded the financial integrity of over 200 members of Congress, and if you've ever checked out my comment sections, you've probably seen a group called AIPAC referenced. My goal is that after you've watched this video, you understand what AIPAC is, what it's not, and its true influence over American politics. So, AIPAC, or the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, is a lobbying group that's comprised of AIPAC-PAC, which generally contributes directly to candidates, and their affiliated super PAC, United Democracy Project, which by law has to spend and advocate independently from the campaigns they are supporting. Ideologically, as an organization, AIPAC is fully committed to the current Israeli government. This includes denying the UN report of famine in Gaza, casting doubt on the civilian casualty numbers reported in Gaza, and full support of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. As far as influence, AIPAC-PAC raised and spent roughly $57 million last cycle, while United Democracy Project raised $87 million and spent $61 million. This is a large part of the picture, but not the whole story. AIPAC claims a network of over 5 million members. They utilize this network through the featured candidates section on their website, as well as email and text campaigns that fundraise on behalf of endorsed candidates. By law, AIPAC can only give $10,000 directly to a candidate. So if you're looking at a source like AIPAC Tracker and they're showing this large sum of money coming from AIPAC to a particular candidate, they're overwhelmingly talking about individuals that have been giving through these website links or these email and text campaigns. As for impact, last cycle they endorsed 75% of members of the House and 84% of senators that were up for election. They take credit for unseating Democratic progressives Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman. So does AIPAC determine everything that happens in American politics? No, but they do have a large presence.
This just goes to show how much our elected politicians don't want people to know they're receiving from AIPAC. This is the Track AIPAC X account. This account works so fast. Anytime a US politician tweets anything, this Track AIPAC account will comment with an image of how much money they're receiving. Most of the time, people will actually end up liking and sharing the image more than the original post. However, recently, politicians left and right are just blocking this account. Josh Guthmeyer, Richie Torres, Brad Schneider, Nicole, Rebecca, Yasmin. Doesn't stop even more politicians. Wesley Bell, Mondaire Jones. On the 4th of July, actually, it posted this image, House of AIPAC. These are all of the politicians bought out by AIPAC and the leftover Democrats and Republicans who aren't. This version includes all those who are supported by Zionists in general, AIPAC, Democratic Majority for Israel, Republican Jewish Coalition, and J Street. When you step back and look at this as a whole, it's crazy to see just how much Israeli interests have bought out American politicians.
If you are watching the video up to this point, thank you very much. You are a real one. Anyway, let's go to my commentary. Now, it is extremely sad that a lot of politicians cannot even answer whether they have AIPAC money or not. They can't even answer that because they know that the answer is ridiculous. Once they answer it, you will see that, yes, of course, they do take AIPAC money. And that's why they just can't answer it. Any politician that you ask and he freezes, that tells you everything you need to know. They don't explicitly need to say that, no, we do not take AIPAC money. They do, obviously. That's why they don't want to answer it. AIPAC has become like a cancer, and nobody wants to associate with it. However, they still want to take AIPAC money. And as long as you take the money, then obviously you are associated with it. But they don't like the criticism that comes with it. Right? AIPAC at this point, they've become a slaw that the politicians don't want to associate with. With regards to Mahdi's point, he was mentioning that, well, does Israel force the USA or does the US support Israel regardless? Well, and to some extent, I think both sides of the equation are actually true. Israel kind of, at least they mess with public perception. They even forced some politicians and they came out and talked about this outright. Whether it's from the ICC, Fatou Bensouda talked about this. Whether it is even some US politicians, they get a lot of pressure and sometimes they even get threatened that, hey, we're gonna fund your opponent if you don't listen to us, something like this. And if you mess with them, look at what they did to Thomas Massie. They promoted his opponents. Even the Democrats, when you mess with them, they just fund your opponents. So they threaten you with that. They also threaten you, calling you an anti-Semite and all that. That's exactly what they did to Thomas Massie as well. They are extremely brutal. Yes, there is some pressure coming from AIPAC, but I do think even if AIPAC doesn't exist, America supports Israel. Full stop. America supports Israel. AIPAC is just there to make sure that the support continues, to make sure that because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the general population doesn't like Israel. There are many countries like that. Even though the general population doesn't like them, but the government still works with them. At the end of the day, it's all about the government. And AIPAC is there to make sure that the elected politicians love Israel. That's their goal. They don't care if the average American doesn't like Israel. They don't care. Okay? But they do care if the politicians don't, because at the end of the day, their aid comes from the politicians. They are the ones that give them billions of dollars in aid, in weapons, and all that. So they definitely want to keep the politicians in check. There was also a video where a guy makes a comment and said that, look, anyone associated with AIPAC, we don't need to vote for them. Correct. I agree with that. But the problem with that is, well, a lot of people don't do any research, even though there are a lot of tools to tell you who is affiliated with AIPAC or not. People will just vote. Democrats will vote for Democrats. and Republicans will vote for Republicans. Those are their options. And if you have AIPAC versus AIPAC, they're going to vote AIPAC. Okay? Let's say the Democrat has AIPAC, is AIPAC backed, and the Republican is AIPAC backed. They're just going to vote for one of them. Because in the US, they're all brainwashed to either vote Democrat or Republican, and you have very few independents. The independents are thinking a little bit, but the others don't think. They're either not voting, or when they are voting, they vote for their usual parties, and that's about it. So at the end of the day, the real winner is Israel. Whether you vote left or right, you're going to get Tel Aviv. This has become a meme, but it is true. Voting left or right gets you the exact same party. Israel, that's all you get. Because you have AIPAC on the left and you have AIPAC on the right. And the politicians don't care. All they want is the money. They are working for the devil pretty much. They don't care. Okay, if Satan can come and give them the money and they know this is Satan, they will still take the money. Why do they care? They should not care where the money is coming from. All they need is the money, and they can work with so that they can use it for their campaigns and donations and that type of stuff. That's all they care about. Everything to them is just noise. That's all that is. It's unfortunate. You can ask politicians. Look at the AIPAC handler too. Everybody has an AIPAC person, an AIPAC babysitter. The moment that guy said that on Tucker Carlson's show, it absolutely went viral. Okay? Oh, I'm going to talk to my AIPAC person, then I'm going to talk to you. It's absolutely crazy. If you make it to the end of the video, you are a real one. This is a brand new channel at this point. And yeah, I want to thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, do the whole good stuff.